Show of hands, how many of you have read a quest text in World of Warcraft? Yeah, for sure some of you, but how many players have read every quest in the game? It's not a lot of people. And still here I am suggesting that the writing matters. And it does. It's paramount. And I can guarantee you, even if you never touch the story, you will recognize the difference between retail and classic's way of writing just by ambience alone. But why? At the moment, Blizzard's going out of their way to close down all the Classic Plus-like private servers. I'll admit I've occasionally checked those private servers out, just out of sheer curiosity. And every time I did, I ran into the same issue. Not an issue that kept me from playing, but it was prevalent all throughout. And that issue was that it just didn't feel like the real thing. Whether it was the quest text that felt off, or an NPC that said something that just didn't match with the tone of the original vanilla WoW, I'd always bump into one or two things that would make me go, yeah, the devs are showing their hands here. It could be there through the microtransactions, or it could be something as simple as the NPCs they plopped down at the starting area, just kind of being out of place, standing out like sore thumbs in a world that was always meant to be immersive. And just look at this guy. Which brings me to what excites me actually about the prospect of finally getting to play Classic Plus. I'm sat here wondering whether it's actually going to feel authentic. Will there be a high focus on fidelity? Will the new zones feel expansive and slow-paced? Will the design philosophy reflect years of arduous study of the original product? Or will it just be Season of Discovery 2.0? I have no idea. But I'll tell you this. If they want it to feel like vanilla WoW, the writing is important. It's a small detail, yeah, but a necessary one. If it all reads like retail, it just won't last. I've always enjoyed WoW for its lore. The story was important at times, sure, but mainly because it's one of the main vehicles through which the world is represented. Whether it's the minute details like the fact that you wanna attack ogres in the morning because they're absurdly slow to wake up, or the interesting locales of the world, such as the mysterious Tower of Karazhan built upon the largest ley line in the setting, the Goblin cartels and their delicate dance with neutrality, the Argent Dawn and their steadfast work in post-apocalyptic Lordaeron. I loved all of it. A friend of mine who often plays on private servers will occasionally come up to me to share something about the latest take on Classic Plus, and I always gravitate towards the same question. How's the writing? And I think going into official Classic Plus, that's the question I'll be asking again. For instance, do you remember Saurfang's quote from Vanilla? I am he who watches day. I am the fist
of retribution, that which does quell the recalcitrant. Dare you defy the war chief? Dare you face my merciless judgment?
Man, things just sounded so cool and kind of archaic back then. It was super immersive. And you know what I like about this little piece of writing? I like that it's not a reference. It's not something that's blatantly meant to mirror anything else going on at the time. That there is a writer that decided an orc can be intelligent and articulate and violent all at once. An orc can be a warrior poet. And while that is admittedly a standout line, it was an example of the type of phrasing and writing you could find sprinkled throughout the product that was vanilla WoW. There was glory back then, large concepts and earnest fantasy, characters speaking with gravitas. Don't forget, World of Warcraft came out at a time where Lord of the Rings was at its height. Fantasy at this time was a place for grandeur, and the grandiosity on offer was not in the hearts of players alone, it was there, in the world itself. The developers who made the game at the time understood that Warcraft was a gritty but quirky setting that was meant to feel large. And what communicates largeness better than 1,000 NPCs living believable lives unaffected by your existence? Largeness was a world where you could walk into a keep, see a child king and his advisors, and by the time you left, the NPCs would remain. They wouldn't change or move somewhere else or suddenly be replaced. There was permanence back then. And permanence meant that a horde raid could, at any moment, try to take down the seat of the Alliance. The NPCs were always there, and as you left the keep, they went back to ruling the kingdom as they always did, just like so. In that sense, I think my greatest hope for Classic Plus is this. I hope they expand it sideways. I don't want it to branch into a different future or an alternative timeline where TPC plays out differently or whatever. I want it to expand sideways, to simply build upon the era that it belongs to. Imagine if we get to see what was going on Kisan at the time, or maybe a trip to Northrend where the Lich King has yet to awaken, imagined in that old style. I want to see the islands of the South Seas where the pirates are active and maybe trying to summon something from the depths. Maybe we could even see what Ashara was up to in those years. Small stories contained in patches that can coexist timelessly and mechanically with the rest of the world. Just another adventure that happened at a time where WoW wasn't about the next big threat. It was just, here's a new land, here's a bad guy, stop them and pick up a souvenir or two if you want. Grounded narratives. NPCs with voices that feel distinct and writing that doesn't care if it's understood. I want quests that don't have to be important or give you a lecture about a people and their culture. Show me the culture instead. Let me click on NPCs and see what they eat here, or let me stop on my own time to read what NPCs are saying to each other. Write a story that players can miss. Write a story that's optional, because if you do, some players will choose to engage with it, and the people who will make that choice will definitely start caring about it. Let them be the storytellers in each of their small communities. Let the story happen because we, the players, choose it to. It'd be nice to experience that feeling again. A story with a bit of backbone and narrative confidence. When you didn't need an NPC to be following you around at all times, harping on about the greater plot. You could simply be the story. Live it, see it, invent it in your mind. And also, I hope they take a page out of Turtle WoW's book and make new zones active for different level brackets. If I log onto Classic Plus for the first time just to see everything's been stuffed into the endgame and that our journey is the same as it always was, I'll be logging off immediately again. Of course, I'm assuming we'll see some new zones, right? New zones, new dungeons, raids, profession items, and definitely some new quests in the zones that sorely need them. But I suppose we don't know what we're getting yet. Heck, it could really just be another season of Discovery. And I guess all there's left to do now is wait for BlizzCon to come along.